but the question is, right. So if it's a buy, so it would seem to me if it's that amount of flour in it, and someone once told me that there's a difference between the long licorice and the ones they chop up into pieces. Those are much harder. The little ones they sell by the pound, those are very thick. They're much chewier licorice. So those for sure mezainis maybe. The long ones, that maybe you could debate, but I think they're both mezainis, and but whatever. Yes, Susan.
There's an alcohol anisette.
Right. Yeah. Arak.
So yes, it's the same bracha, the same.
Oh, no. The arak is shahakol. It's a drink. We've gone through the laws.
Okay.
Right. But we are going to get to interesting that you bring it up, because the next Gemara is going to question the whole the idea of drinks. We're gonna come to it soon. So it's interesting you bring it up now. Yes. Okay. Let's see. We got a few more minutes. Okay. Let's go further. So Rav Chisda says that a cooked dish of beets is good for the heart, and it's good for the eye. And for sure for the intestines. So beets are healthy. And once we spoke about beets in the previous Gemara, the Gemara continues and mentions what Rav Chisda said about beets. And Amar Abai says, that beets are healthy.
What's the definition of salka? Because you said it was beets.
Yeah. And Tradin and silka seem to be the same thing.
Because to me, salka in Arabic, okay, which is actually spinach.
Okay, but Rashi here says silka tavshel shel tradin. I believe I saw in a dictionary tradin meant tarid or something in spinach.
Tered, tered is spinach.
Tered. But I don't know in the Gemara language. It seems that it's beets. I don't know. What is does the art scroll say anything different? I believe it's beets. The Koran. Anyone see anything different? Does anyone say we're talking about spinach here? I mean,
no. Safaria says it's beets.
Beets. So Reuven. Yeah, we can't hear you. You're muted.
Schottenstein says beets.
Yeah. So thank you. So if you see anything else, and we'll translate it differently. I didn't see a different translation.
The Koran says beets also.
Oh, okay. Shkayach. So they all seem to say beets. Thank you. So Rav Chisda. So this tavshil, this dish of beets, is good for the heart, good for the eyes, and for sure for the intestines. And the Abai says, but this is the health benefits is hudi yasev abe tafe. That's if you leave it on the fire on the stove, the ovid toich and it bubbles and it makes this sound toich. So somehow that is a sign that it's cooked well, and that is when it's that is the healthy way of having it. So the next Gemara then says, and this is a famous Gemara because it contradicts something that we learned earlier. Yes, David.
Yeah. So this particular Gemara I learned in yeshiva and with Rav Azdaba, and he gave me a job because I was the nurse. He said, I want you to go back and look at these different health things and see what modern medicine says about. And we specifically looked on this verse about the beets and the toch, the boiling. So I looked at a modern medical encyclopedia, and it said that beets have these particular nutrients in them. And then it says, but the nutrients, these vitamins, they only come out when the beets are boiled. So in other words, this modern medical encyclopedia was coming to the same things that they knew from 2,000 years ago from the Gemara. That's only when the beets are boiled do they release those vitamins and minerals.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, I mean, we don't always find that everything matches up from, and often we say we follow the medicine of today, even if the Gemara says something different, because nishtano hativim, there is a concept that the nature of people have changed, and certain things might have worked then and aren't, but that's nice when it does match up. Yes, so shkoyach, yes. Let's see. Okay, Robert.
Yeah, just to add to the conversation, if I understand correctly, the longer you boiled anything, the more you lose the nutrients. And so the philosophy now is the steamed vegetables as I guess, keeping it more whole and containing its nutrients and vitamins. Other people can correct me, but I know that's part of the philosophy of, again, eating them raw if you can in a natural state, because more and more people, you go to these raw restaurants and it's all chopped up and it's not been adulterated by cooking.
So that's an interesting counter argument that Robert is bringing, that maybe we lose stuff in the boiling. So that's an interesting question. Anyway, I guess we need some scientists to help us over here. Yes, Susan.
My grandmother made homemade borscht, with the water.
And how long did she live till?
Past 90. Way past 90. All right. But she also made chavs, which is the green counterpart, but I don't, it was not cabbage.
It was a grass. It's a grass.
Okay. And it was a little more bitter than the borscht, but what in reference to what Ezra was talking about, that being spinach, maybe it was a different kind of a greenery at that time. But
okay, thanks for bringing that up. In any event, so we have here this interesting that the Gemara brings it, that Rav Chizda mentioned this, that it's healthy, that beets have these health benefits, and Abai says that you have to keep it cooking for a long time, this dish to have the health benefits. So the only thing I could answer you, Robert, is maybe those vitamins that they found that you lose them in the boiling. Maybe those aren't the sources of the health benefits.
Yeah, I don't know, but
maybe so you might lose some vitamins, but
you lose it from the
those...
fruit, but you gain it in the water. The liquid has the vitamins in it, though.
Well, I don't know if they agree with that. They claim that once you boil something, it loses it. That's why they don't like to pasteurize anything in the health food industry, because it kills the vitamins. That's why oranges, they have to add back the vitamin C. They add vitamin C to it because it doesn't really have it, because they pasteurized it. So
the main vitamin, Rabbi, is iron. Iron is the main thing.
And does that get ruined when you boil it?
No.
I'm not sure, to tell the truth, but if you boil, which I've often boiled up raw beets, and the water turns red. So a lot of it comes out in the boiling. So as I think that Rob was saying, steaming, which I do anyway, vegetables is the best thing. But I remember when people had anemia, my mother was telling me they got anemia in the old days, they would wrap a boiled beet or raw beet in brown sugar. So you had the sugar iron in both of those things, and it would cure their anemia.
Interesting. So sugar has iron in it?
Right, yeah, when it's brown. but like not white, raw sugar.
Right, sugar cane.
Brown sugar. Brown sugar.
Right.
It's also the irony of when we use flour, we bleach, most of the ingredients of flour is bleached flour, which everything is taken out. It's like, cardboard. And then they have to re-add it all back in.
Right. Okay, so in any event, maybe that's my thought, that maybe the important element that does not get lost in the pasteurization, but some good stuff does, but that doesn't matter. Amar Rav Papa says, Pshitali, it's obvious to me, Maya de Silka, Kisilka, the liquid that you cook the beets in, the water of beets, which means the water that the beets are cooked in, is Kisilka. The bracha is just like the bracha on beets. And that means that the liquid that they are cooked in is ha'adama. Now, this contradicts what we said earlier, that date honey is shahakal. This is a big contradiction. The commentaries all discuss this. This is it takes up a lot of discussion. I did touch on it when we learned this, but in any event, they want to say that the liquid that beets are cooked in is considered like the beets. It's bari pri adama. Maya delifta kilifta, the water that the turnip is cooked in is considered like a turnip. Maya de chulu shalki, the water of all types of vegetables that are cooked, it has the bracha of the vegetables. By Rav Papa Maya de Shiv Samai, Rav Papa asks, what about the water of dill? When they cook dill and they remove the dill afterwards, what is the law of that water? Limatuke taima abdi, is this in order to make the taste like dill, and therefore it would be like bari pri adama? Or oy lavure zuama abdillah, do they use the dill to remove the negative smell, but they don't use it in order to give taste? And if so, then the bracha would be just like, water, which is shahakal, and you wouldn't recite the bracha of the vegetable. So the bottom line is that we do have a contradiction here between this Gemara and a previous Gemara. The previous Gemara implied like all fruit juices would be shahakal, and here where we see that water that vegetable liquid is always going to be water that vegetables are cooked in are always going to be ha'adama. And this is a lot of ink has been spilled on this. There are mainly two main answers, two main explanations. One of them is the Rashba, the other is the Rush. The Rashba learns that the difference is what is the norm? Is the norm of vegetables to cook them and in water, and if that's so, then the water that the vegetables are cooked in, that is considered the bracha of the vegetables. The norm of fruit is not to make it into juice; it's to eat it as fruit, and therefore the bracha is lost. Now, the problem with that way of learning, which I shouldn't say a problem. The question is, according to that, what would you do with orange juice that are made from juice oranges? Orange juice, if you made orange juice from eating oranges, then that would make a lot of sense that orange juice is shahakal, because the eating oranges are meant for eating. And when you make juice out of eating oranges, you are doing something abnormal to the orange. You're changing its form to not the norm. And therefore, you are going to recite a shahakal on the orange juice made from eating oranges. But according to this, maybe an orange juice that they make, which they do, they make it from juice oranges. According to this, the bracha really should be ha'etz on the juice orange, on orange juice from juice oranges. So, but this is one way of learning. Then there's another way of learning that the reason why some by fruits are shahakol and by vegetables that are cooked in water, the bracha is hadama, is because when you cook a vegetable in water, you actually get the flavor of the vegetable in the water. When you squeeze juice, it's not exactly the same flavor. Now that itself is also questionable what that means. How different is the flavor of juice from eating the fruit? I mean, apple juice versus an apple. Yeah, I guess that, it's got to be a little different. But how different is it? I mean, orange juice, grapefruit juice, I guess it does carry what you're doing is getting a concentration of liquid without the other elements in the fruit. It's a little hard to understand, like, what does he mean? That the fruit juice, it's not the actual flavor of the fruit. It's very similar, but it's not the same. But cooking vegetables, you're getting that flavor in the water. Anyway, this is a topic, a big topic, but that's this is how they try to reconcile the previous Gemara with this Gemara. We have a lot of questions here. Let's see. Yehuda.
Yeah. Would it make a difference with the orange juice if the pulp is still where it has the pieces?
I don't think they make a difference if there's pulp in the orange juice. If I'm not mistaken, orange juice, even with pulp, is shahakol. That's what the Art Scroll book says. So it doesn't seem to make a difference if it has the pulp or not. Ben, is Ben there?
I mean,